Fantasy football notes for Week 12. Feel free to pause at any time. James Conner has been the RB3 overall the last 3 games played, 120 rushing yards in Week 12. He has workhorse volume, touchdown production, and efficiency right now. Quiet Gus Edwards Day, but he had 16 total touches, and no other running back in that room had more than 2. Isaiah McKenzie had a huge day for Buffalo. He caught 6 of his 10 targets for 96 yards and a touchdown. We know Josh Allen loves himself a slot wide receiver. Last season, DJ Moore with Sam Darnold was very productive for fantasy and had a ton of volume. In Week 12, Sam Darnold started, and DJ Moore had 20.3 fantasy points. Hard to trust anybody in Chicago outside of David Montgomery because of volume. If you had and played Samaje Perine, you were smart. 17 attempts for 58 rushing yards and a touchdown, 4 receptions for 35 yards, 19.3 fantasy points. David Njoku caught 5 balls in Week 12. He looked healthier. He scored a touchdown. Weeks 1 through 7, he was the tight end 7 overall and ranked number 3 for tight ends and receiving yards. He now gets Deshaun Watson. Michael Gallup is trending in the right way. Go check your waivers for him. Denver in general doesn't look great or productive on offense. Courtland Sutton has just been average for fantasy. He's not showing upside. Love the talent in DeAndre Swift, but he's not touching the ball enough right now or playing enough of the snaps. You have to bench him until we hear about a change. Christian Watson has been red hot the last 3 games. Pay attention to Aaron Rodgers' injury news, but he's had 2 games of over 100 yards receiving and 6 touchdowns in his last 3. Zay Jones continues to show chemistry with Trevor Lawrence. He caught 11 of his 14 targets in Week 12 for 145 receiving yards and 27.5 fantasy points, 24 targets across his last 2 games played. Great signs for Isaiah Pacheco for the Kansas City Chiefs. He had a season-high 15.6 fantasy points, and he had 23 total touches. That's good volume. Justin Herbert has been hot the last 2 games, which helps guys like Austin Eckler, DeAndre Carter, and Keenan Allen. If you had Josh Jacobs in your fantasy matchup, you probably won it or lost it. 39 total touches, 229 rushing yards, and 2 touchdowns, 6 catches for 74 receiving yards, 48.3 fantasy points, RB2 right now overall. Miami's defense and special teams showed us that if you are playing Houston, you should play that defense and special teams. TJ Hawkinson continues to show us that his move to Minnesota was great for fantasy. 9 receptions shows that Ramondre Stevenson is a very safe running back play due to the passing volume. Alvin Kamara for a couple weeks now has been awful. Richie James has been pretty decent for fantasy the last 2 weeks and has a role in New York. Mike White truly helps the fantasy stock of guys like Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore over Zach Wilson. Miles Sanders and Jalen Hurts look like track athletes. They had 143 and 157 rushing yards, which did not help Devonta Smith or A.J. Brown. You can pause it if you like, but Seattle's fantasy options were solid this week. Christian McCaffrey had a down week, but Shanahan said he had some knee soreness, plus Mitchell is probably going to be out now. Huge Rachaad White day. He looks like the running back 1 in Tampa from now on. Treylon Burks had yet another good fantasy day, along with rookie Brian Robinson, who had a season-high 20.5 fantasy points.